What's up, guys? So, before I even tell you who I am, I want to tell you about the purpose of this video. We are going to identify the problem areas where cyclists with back pain and sciatica get stuck, lost, and frustrated when rehabbing these issues. There is a blueprint for how to do it right for a cyclist. I will share that with you. But first, a little bit on me. My name is Robbie Horseman. I run Race with Robbie. That's my Instagram at Race with Robbie. I specifically and exclusively work with cyclists with back pain and sciatica. It is a tailored approach that takes into account the bike, your life, and every stone that we need to uncover to get you fast, effective, and lasting results when it comes to getting rid of these types of problems. So let's dive in. What we're going to do is we're going to go through the 4 pitfalls of rehab for a cyclist. And yes, I will give you a blueprint that you can use on your own to attack these problems and actually solve them in a more systematic and organized way. So let's outline them from the start. So number one, if you want to ride a bike, you've got to take into account the mechanics of cycling if you've got a problem. So if you have back pain or sciatica, there's got to be a cycling specific element to that rehab plan. Part of that includes just riding. You got to be riding while you're rehabbing, but understanding your specific mechanics on the bike is important. It is kind of a prereq to having maximum expertise, whether it's you doing it on your own or whether you're getting help from somebody. There has to be a cycling specific element. Number two, we have to recognize bias and that it is dangerous. My biases are dangerous. If I'm just comparing to a norm or to someone else, I'm going to be missing potentially some of the key things that are going to help you get the most out of yourself and help you get better more quickly and with a more lasting effect. So we got to check those at the door. But I hate to say it, you've got your biases as well. So understanding where past experience, it can help you, but it can also hurt you. And understanding where we may need to adjust our thinking to be able to get the most out of ourselves. Number three, when you don't understand the problem at hand and the details of it and how that fits with the solution that you're putting in place, you will not do it consistently for any meaningful amount of time. And honestly, I would argue you shouldn't. If you don't understand how the things that you're doing to solve the problem actually connect with what the problem is in the first place, why would you follow that plan? I wouldn't either, but that happens all the damn time. And then number four, this is pretty easy, but if this is not easy to execute, if plan is not easy to execute, it fits into your life, it is something that you will get done with consistency and it's sustainable in the long term. You'll do it for a while, but it won't have the longevity and the lasting impact because it'll fall off. And that's really where, when we look at some of the problem areas, like it's great that there's all these resources on Instagram and YouTube. But ultimately, too much information and too many options tend to serve simply as a distraction. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. I am going to get to that blueprint as well at the end of this video. And I'll be concise with your time because I respect your time. But let's understand these 4 factors a little bit more closely so that we can make that blueprint make a bit more sense. If you're digging this, if you're digging the vibe, go ahead and hit subscribe on YouTube here. And if you want to see me on Instagram, again, I am at Race with Robbie. Okay, so number 1, I believe cycling specific problems deserve a cycling specific approach. Look, I've been a physical therapist for 12 years. I've seen 7,500 plus cases of back pain across all different types of people. As I have gotten more niched into cyclists, where now I specifically and exclusively work with cyclists, nothing could be more clear to me that you've got to understand the bike if you're going to rehab cyclists. Part of that includes the knowledge that we are going to be riding during rehab. As an aside, one of the coolest things that I've done in my career is I worked with F-16 pilots for almost 3 years. Like, those dudes are going to fly. They might not be able to walk, but they're probably going to go fly their sortie. So understanding that that element, not only it's just going to happen, but it's a very important part of it, helping their body adapt to the stress, that they're actually doing the thing, pulling the G's, flying the jet is very important. Because if we just take that pilot out of the cockpit, get them to a point where they're good enough, what's going to happen when they get back in? Probably some chaos. But if we had them flying throughout that process, their body's going to be more ready. And I feel the same way about cycling. Now, we don't want to be silly and bang our head against a wall with rides that are just causing more of a problem. But we need to be on the bike while we're rehabbing, because we cannot get that force that we put through that our body on the bike, power, if you will, anywhere else. So that's a huge key. And if you don't understand how the work you're doing off the bike connects to the bike, you're just missing a key link. You'll still get results. Maybe that's capped at like 80%, but you won't have the full picture that gets you above and beyond this problem to where it's like, yo, now we're at 110%. Like, we're doing things that we have not done in years, or that we couldn't even imagine, because we've got everything dialed together. So pretty simple, right? We've got to understand the cycling mechanics. We've got to understand what to look for off the bike, and we've got to be able to bring it easily to a situation where you know what to do on the bike in a way that doesn't create chaos. Cool. So number two, being our biases. And I think this one's pretty simple as well. I'll give you an example of a cyclist that I will be working with that I just talked to yesterday. One of his big fears is strength training flaring him up. He believes that his legs are strong enough, so why would we need strength training? Now, to this guy's credit, he's very aware, very receptive, and I told him, you don't need strength training for cycling, but you do need strength training to improve your mechanics so that you can handle the force of cycling better. And to the point of bias, he was willing to set that bias aside, check it at the door, if you will, and say, okay, I trust that. Now, on my side, making sure I'm checking my bias means that I'm actually listening to the cyclist at hand, the athlete at hand, who knows their body best, so that I'm not throwing a solution that worked for someone over here that might have been kind of like that person, but it's not that person. So when you look at all the cookie cutter stuff out there, and there's a ton of it everywhere, that's where we miss. We assume, oh, we throw this type of exercise at the issue, it's the right thing to do, so it'll help. Not so fast. Exercise stuff in rehab is about 30% of the benefit. There is an entire 70% of that pie that is made up by coaching around specific exercises, helping people understand what it actually means, how it translates on the bike, how it translates to life, and how we can coach these things, such as having the courage to get the strength training done, knowing what to look for so we don't get a flare up, and being able to tie it all together. A big part of what I do is to coach that confidence, to give that game plan, bookmark that, to show, okay, this is where we're at now. This is where we're going to get. The exercise stuff is part of the vehicle. It is not the only thing. When we get really dogmatic and we think certain exercises simply do things magically without having to connect the dots to what the person wants to do on and off the bike, that's a huge bias problem. Got to understand that this stuff doesn't exist in a vacuum. We got to live our life. So any biases that I might have, that you might have, if we're working together, that's got to be checked at the door. If you're doing it on your own, you've got to seek out stuff that makes you uncomfortable, that makes you question, is this the right thing to do? And the answer might be yes, but it might go against part of what you believe. But we have to understand that belief may be correct and it may be incorrect. So we have to check that bias at the door. Digging deeper into number three, if you don't understand a problem, any action you take to fix it could be ineffective, but it's going to be watered down in terms of its effectiveness. So the big part of this is getting to the point where we say, okay, we can look at key tests and key information to understand why there is too much stress on your back. So for me and what I do, that involves doing a detailed assessment, making sure I'm giving a clear, easy to understand version of that to my athlete. And part of how I do that is I record that assessment and I will cut it up so that it's easy to watch, 15 minutes or so out of an hour assessment. And I'll voice over the key parts. What's on the front burner? What's on the back burner? What's off to the side? And what are we leaving in the cupboard? What's actually not relevant? Might seem like a problem, but it's not the problem. Maybe that doesn't need to be addressed. Like being able to discern what's important and what's not is very, very key when it comes to efficiency and getting maximum effectiveness. So ultimately, here's the deal. If you don't understand why you're doing something and you can't see the clear benefit, like from the first week you're working on it, and as you build, as you change, as you progress, it's going to fizzle out. And I think it should. Because if I don't understand how the actions I'm taking are helping me, those are probably the wrong actions to be taking. That, or I simply need better understanding. For me, day one, that's what I'm looking for, is to have my athlete understand in their own language, not mine, how this stuff is important and how the work they will do will address it. And then that fourth piece, easy to execute. Yo, we're cyclists. We want to be on the bike for 10 plus hours a week. Maybe it's 5 to 10. Maybe it's 20 plus. Either way, even on the low end of that, that's a lot of time. We don't have the ability to have a bunch of fluffy BS that takes us hours and hours per week. We have to be precise. We have to be targeted. We have to be doing the right stuff. And we have to make sure that it fits into our life. Because if it's not easy to execute, it's not going to happen. You might do it for 4 to 6 weeks, but it won't be maximally effective and you're just going to stop doing it. What that boils down to, again, is understanding you, whether it's you understanding yourself or me understanding you or someone else understanding you, and being able to put the right things in place so that they can be done consistently, but it's not ruling your life. It's not always rainbows and butterflies. Sometimes it's not always fun and exciting. That said, when the work is concise, you know it's going to work, you understand it, you've checked your bias at the door, and you can see how it benefits your cycling, you'll get it done. I've seen 100 people that I've worked with this year in this online business do exactly that. Very, very few issues with having to put the spurs on and spur the horse, if you will, right? Because when it's easy to execute, when it's well understood, when we don't let bias creep in and we listen, and we connect it specifically to the goal, which I work with cyclists, so cycling is going to be part of the goal. When we do all that, the thing functions like a well-oiled machine and shit works. What that means is that you kind of watch your problems melt away, and then one day you're like, weird, that was strange. What's going on? Oh, I just didn't feel any pain. That's the sauce. So, blueprint on how to attack, how to address these things. So let's start with the DIYer out there. Look, there is too much information and a lot of it is conflicting when we look on social media. But what you need to understand if you're going to do this on your own is that you have to create for yourself a bit of an assessment to understand where your weak points are. Like you've got to be able to say, okay, I did these things, so now I understand how my hips move, how my pelvis moves, how my back moves, how that affects the feet, how that affects the shoulders. Like that stuff's out there. You could piece it together. It's not easy if you don't know what you're doing, but it is possible. You want to have that thing you can draw back to so that you can say, cool, this is why I'm choosing the stuff I'm doing, and this is how I will be able to judge the effectiveness. You can't just insert new exercises every week, every 2 weeks, and go trial and error and expect to get results out of anything but luck. And if you do get there through trial and error, it's going to take much, much longer than it needs to. Like that could be a 2 year process instead of a 4 month process. If you're disciplined about it and you're able to get to the point where you can put the right stuff in place, you should be able to see improvement to where you're functioning and riding at least 90% in a 4 month period. So it's doable on your own. It's just not always the most efficient way. Now, here's the ask for the DIYer. Instead of just saving a ton of shit on Instagram or bookmarking a ton of YouTube videos. You've actually got to put it into place and assess how it's working. And when something's working, you stick with it. If it's not, you're going to have to go back to the drawing board. But just saving posts, nobody ever goes back to those. It's just a nice idea. The problem with that nice idea is it gives our brain a hit of dopamine as if we've actually done something, but we haven't actually done anything. So that achievement is completely false. So stop saving and start doing. And then once you've done something and you like it, all right, cool. Then you can go ahead and save that post. So in terms of the people who are self-aware enough to know that they need help and they actually don't want to do this or have not been able to do this on your own, here is what you are looking for in a plan. This is what someone should be able to tell you day one. Number one, I will find the root cause of this issue. Two, I will help you to understand it simply. Three, we will make it easy to execute. Four, I'm going to keep turning over any stone that needs to be turned over to really hone in on the problem and make sure that at every step we're doing exactly what we need to be doing. And then number five, day one, we should be able to have a roadmap based on the details that you're giving of what our time target is and where that is going to get us. So for a lot of cyclists, I can identify that I can get significant results in 8 weeks. I should be able to say that day one. Now, I will likely extend that program to make sure that I can hand them the ball and they know exactly what to do. But I'm going to communicate the why and the how there too in a very clear way so that we know, okay, if we're going to work together for 4 months, this is exactly where we can expect to get. And if we're a little bit ahead of schedule, this is what we're going to do. If we're a little bit behind schedule, this is what we're going to do. All of that is available day one when we can lean back on experience without bias. We can look at the science of what it's actually going to take, and we're tailoring it specifically to the details of what's going on with you. Now, there might be the situation where it's like, okay, we're going to take a 4-month target. This will get you to 75%. But then you will know exactly what to do going forward. Everyone's got that plan going forward. I don't work with people forever. Sometimes I work with people and then we have a performance element that we work on afterwards. That's all well and good. But in terms of that rehab side, I do not want to work with you forever. My entire goal is to be able to get you to the point where you know exactly what you need to do. It's super easy. And it's something where you can do it with maximum efficiency so that you don't have to keep doing the same high intensity work that got you out of that situation. You can dial it back a little bit and still keep the exact same benefits in just an hour a week versus say working 2.5 hours a week on the front end, which by the way isn't that much when you break up say 4 quick and easy workouts to 20 minutes. And then if you're doing 2 longer workouts where you're focusing on strengthening your mechanics, 45 minutes or so, cool. That's only 2.5 hours a week. It will fit into your cycling. But in the long run, we don't even want to be doing that much. We want it to be even more efficient. So ultimately, that's what we need. We need to be able to have those 5 steps. We need to be able to have that total clarity on where we're at now, what we're going to do to get where we want to go, and what kind of time frame and what kind of work it's going to take to get there. With anyone you would consider working with, those are the questions you should be asking. When I talk to someone, I cover that stuff. But if I missed a step, I would expect that that person has that question. Or if they don't understand, exactly what we're getting at in terms of the assessment, what I want that person to do is ask those questions to fully get that understanding. So in anyone you would consider working with, you really want to evaluate what the whole process is and make sure that there is a roadmap all the way through. It's not just, oh yeah, come twice a week or do these exercises 4 times a week and we'll see where it goes. That is not good enough. We've got to get to the point where we can roadmap it from day one, understand what we'll do if we're ahead of schedule, understand what we'll do if we're behind schedule, and obviously understand what we're going to do, what it's going to look like if we're totally on schedule. If this was helpful for you, hit subscribe. You can head over and check my Instagram at Race with Robbie. If you want to talk to me directly about these problems, guys, I'm happy to do it. I'll include my calendar link in the description of this video. That way, if you want to book time with me, you've got that option. Find a time that works. If there's nothing that works, just shoot me a DM and I will get back to you with something that does work for you. Back pain and sciatica are solvable problems. But when we go about it the wrong way, we waste time. The result of that is that we're wasting good time that we could just be out riding our bike, chasing our goals, getting after it. But when we put the right pieces in place, systematically and strategically, we will get results. That's what we do here at Race with Robbie. That's what I want for you, regardless of whether you do it on your own, you do it with someone else, or you do it with me. Have the best week ever. I love you guys.